A new grant could make getting medical help a bit easier in Kentucky and Tennessee. We'll take a look at the expanded options. And the war in Ukraine is nearing its 2-year mark. World leaders are providing support for the country and urging the U.S. to send more aid.
Plus, after cold weather tomorrow, we see some more spring-like temperatures as we end February. Those details on the way as Mountain News First at 4 continues.
Mountain News First at 4 continues.
One healthcare organization is looking to create end-user sites in Whitley County as well as Campbell and Claiborne counties in Tennessee. WYMT's RJ Johnson talked with leaders about the initiative.
Officials at Dayspring Health in Williamsburg say they are working to expand telehealth access in southern Kentucky and eastern Tennessee. End-user sites are locations where community members can go get help using telehealth services. Medical assistants will be on site to help walk patients through the equipment, but doctors will be at larger institutions. Before these end-user sites, patients' only options to see doctors would be through telehealth at home or by traveling. With the help of a 3-year grant from the USDA of nearly $750,000, they'll be able to create 9 sites throughout the region to provide these services. Chief Financial Officer and Chief Operating Officer Larry Rector says access to health care is still one struggle they are looking to fix.
By having this grant, we can have the technology that meets one of the most commonly mentioned barriers in healthcare, and that has to do with access. People in our community typically have to drive 1 to 2 hours just to see a specialist.
Rector says by having this technology, they'll be able to reduce some of those wait times and eliminate the long drives to seek health care elsewhere. In Williamsburg, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
Rector says with the grant, they'll also be able to go into schools and nursing homes. And coming up at 6, we'll take a closer look at how the funding will impact those locations. Women represent nearly 50% of job holders in America, but only 25% of the entire STEM population. The STEM Goes Red event is working to change that. High school students from across central and eastern Kentucky gathered at Eastern Kentucky University to take a first step into the STEM world by connecting with professionals, learning about EKU's programs, and finding out just what it means to be a woman in STEM.
I didn't know where I was going to go yet, and I sat right here in these chairs, and I met 3 phenomenal ladies, and it changed my life. It really did.
Another STEM Goes Red event is making its way to Eastern Kentucky in March. As we approach spring, emergency management officials are preparing for the weather concerns that come with the sunshine season. WYMT's Buddy Forbes talked to officials in Pike County about how they are trying to prepare the public.
Pike County Emergency Management will soon see the delivery of 5,000 weather radios to help prepare people in the community who are most disconnected. The Pike County Fiscal Court approved the purchase of weather radios this week, saying it has been years of work by emergency management officials to bring the devices into the county. Emergency Management Director Nee Jackson says the radios will be lifesavers during severe weather situations, saying recent issues like AT&T's outages or everyday issues with connectivity in the mountains would not be an issue for the devices.
That doesn't affect the weather radios. That's the beauty of these things is they have a battery backup. They run off of power. If the power goes off, you still have a connection to the weather service for weather alerts that they push out to folks.
Those radios are being paid for by grant funding, so though it's not costing the people of the county anything, officials say it could be giving them priceless moments, especially in the event of a disaster. In Pike County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
We are tracking a mixed bag of weather as we close out the work week. Some of us getting some sunshine, others getting some precipitation at this hour. Let's take a live look at First Alert Pinpoint Doppler. And as you can see, some spotty rain chances continue on this Friday afternoon. Nothing too heavy, nothing too widespread as well, but a few showers are possible as we go into this evening. Zooming into a heavier downpour in eastern Pike County, a first alert in Phelps. That downpour pushing into your direction. Also a heavier downpour in southern Martin County pushing into Pike County at this hour. And another heavy downpour in southern Leslie County. That's pushing into Harlan County at this hour. And one more heavy downpour close to Neon pushing into the Jenkins area in Letcher County at this hour. Those current temperatures are once again mild on this Friday, up to 61 for Somerset, 60 in Manchester, 61 also for Harlan, and 57 for Pikeville. Also Clinton Wood and Grundy at this hour. And enjoy the warm weather because we are tracking some changes as early as tomorrow, all thanks to this cold front, also this area of low pressure close to Chicago, and that will bring in some more cooler weather, also some wintry weather as we kick off your weekend on Saturday, but that is short-lived as more spring-like temperatures are on the way for much of next week. Those details coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. This weekend marks 2 years since Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine, igniting a war that's delivered heavy losses on both sides. And there's no end in sight. CBS's Ian Lee takes us back.
The fighting in Ukraine has been relentless and fierce. Ukrainian soldiers defending their homeland are outgunned and outmanned. Avdiivka is the latest city to fall to Russian forces. This battlefield commander says, "We have a big problem with manpower. We simply lack men." Western weapons have kept Ukraine in the fight, but Russia is sending wave after wave of troops toward Ukrainian positions, suffering more than 300,000 casualties, according to U.S. estimates. Ukrainian troops are exhausted. Their ammunition is dangerously low, and they're worried American support is too. The U.S. has given an estimated $110 billion to Ukraine.
There is a strong, palpable desire among virtually all of the G20 for the Russian aggression to end and for peace to prevail.
Despite support from President Biden and the Senate, House Republicans are reluctant to give more aid. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warns without it, Russia will continue to make battlefield advances. He even made a plea to Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump.
If Mr. Trump, if he will come, I'm ready even to go with him to the front line.
Zelensky has guided Ukraine since the early days of the war, but his country faces uncertain times ahead as the war enters its third year. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
President Vladimir Putin today called Russian fighters true national heroes and said Moscow's weapons production has multiplied. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is leading a congressional delegation to Ukraine. This morning, Schumer shared a photo of himself with the delegation in leave on social media, writing, quote, "I am leading this delegation to meet with President Zelensky to show the Ukrainian people that America stands with them, to show our NATO and European allies we stand with them, to learn about the arms Ukraine vitally needs, and to protect our democracy and national security," end quote. Denmark has become the latest European nation to sign a 10-year security agreement with Ukraine today. The United Kingdom, Germany, and France have already signed agreements. The deal was signed in western Ukraine, where Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and the Danish Prime Minister hosted meetings and gave a news conference.
And this will send a very clear message to Russia and to Putin that you have many partners and you have many friends standing behind you, and that you can count on us.
Zelensky told reporters that these deals are not being viewed as an alternative to U.S. support, which has stalled amid political arguments in Washington. Zelensky says he still considers the U.S. as Ukraine's strategic partner and the world leader in aid. The Biden administration announced a new round of economic sanctions on Russia in response to their ongoing war in Ukraine and the recent death of Russian opposition leader Alexi Navalny while in prison. CBS's Natalie Brand has more on that from the White House.
On the eve of the 2-year mark since Russia invaded Ukraine, President Biden is taking new steps to squeeze Russia's economy.
We can't walk away now. And that's what Putin is betting on. He's betting on we're going to walk away.
The administration announced its largest round of sanctions to date, targeting companies linked to Russia's war effort, such as the company that makes the steel used in Russia's attack helicopters. The sanctions also include entities outside of Russia, including in China and the United Arab Emirates. George Washington research professor Bob Ortung is an expert on the region.
I don't think it's going to stop Russia's war fighting. I do think it's going to undermine the economy over the long term.
The U.S. also sanctioned 3 individuals in response to the death of Russian opposition leader Alexi Navalny.
Make no mistake, Putin is responsible for Alexi's death.
The president is also imploring the U.S. House to pass much-needed aid for Ukraine. The White House says the war-torn country is having to ration ammunition and equipment. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer traveled to Ukraine to meet with President Volodymyr Zelensky Friday.
Cross fingers that we're still together.
It comes 10 days after the U.S. Senate passed a foreign aid package that's now held up in the House.
We are with you. The United States is with you. We will not abandon you. We will fight and fight and fight to get this needed aid to you.
Schumer says Zelensky told him Ukraine will lose the war without the vital aid. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
The latest round of sanctions means the U.S. has targeted more than 4,000 businesses and individuals since February 2022. A spokeswoman for the late Alexei Navalny says Russian authorities gave his mother 3 hours to agree to bury him without a public funeral, or he would be buried in a penal colony. His mother has been demanding for days that authorities hand over his body. In a social media post, the spokeswoman wrote, quote, "She refused to negotiate with IC as they are not authorized to decide how and where her son should be buried. She is demanding compliance with the law," end quote. Coming up on First at 4, has your data been leaked during a data breach? Experts say 2023 saw a huge increase in breaches. What you need to know to help protect you and your family.
Plus, we are watching out for a few rain showers this evening and some wintry weather as we go into tomorrow. Those details coming up.